Naar een flat in Oxford Apartments, nummer 213.
So here's the building where it used to be, and now the city has done nothing with this. Absolutely nothing. It just sits there fallow. Now the building was in this design. It was a rectangle, 3-story, white stucco, 36-unit apartment.
Achter deze deur heeft Dahmer vrij spel om zijn fantasie uit te leven. Het is een plek van dood en vernietiging. Veel van zijn slachtoffers pikt Dahmer op in homokroegen.
This area here is pretty much where kind of the gay area kind of starts. This place right here, 219, was the place he liked to go for the... they would have the drag shows. And right next to it, C'est la Vie was another one of his favorites. As we go this way, there's a couple. Now, he was considered kind of a honey. I mean, he was a nice-looking guy. I mean, people thought he was nice-looking. And like I said, I wish I could be as lucky with women as this guy was with men. I mean, he got laid a lot. And he didn't kill everybody that he was sexually involved with.
Barman Tony Timer kan zich Jeffrey Dahmer nog goed herinneren.
Come to the back bar and he'd order a drink and he'd get a drink and he'd go and he'd sit in the corner. He was in his own little world, like he was always waiting for something, which obviously he was. Now, you know.
In deze kroeg ontmoet Dahmer een vriend van Tony, Eddie Smith.
Eddie was such a wild, crazy person, so you couldn't help but like him, which, you know, Dahmer did. And so they knew each other real well. You know, well enough to make him comfortable enough to go into a house and take photographs.
Eddie wil fotomodel worden en Dahmer weet hoe hij daarop moet inspelen. Per fotosessie krijgt Eddie $100 van hem.
Eddie would be sitting at the bar and all of a sudden, you know, sometimes he would turn around and say, I gotta go, gotta make some money. And I'm like, where are you going? And he'd just turn around and look towards the hallway and I'd see Jeffrey standing right there. And I'm like, oh, you're going. Okay. Well, call me when you're whatever, you know.
Op woensdag 24 juni 1990 heeft Eddie een ontmoeting met Dahmer. Ze worden samen dansend gezien in de Phoenix Club.
He just left with Dahmer and never came back.
Pas jaren later bij het proces beseft Tony dat de rustige man die altijd aan het eind van zijn bar zat dezelfde man is die Eddie op gruwelijke wijze heeft omgebracht.
The community was shattered, you know, I mean, people stopped coming out. That blew my life apart. It didn't just affect my life.
Dahmer heeft het niet alleen op de homogemeenschap voorzien. Hij is een opportunistische moordenaar die altijd op jacht is naar een eventuele prooi.
One of his victims was in the bus stop right here. Right up here is a young man from Upper Michigan who was just down here visiting. And Jeff Dahmer met him in the bus stop right over there in front of that McDonald's and convinced him to come home with him. And that was the end of that guy.
Some of the men that he victimized were homosexual, some were not. He would approach them and suggest that he'd like to take pictures of them when they come to his apartment. He had already prepared at that apartment a drug that he would induce them to drink.
He said once he snapped the lock on the door and the person was in his apartment, he seemed to become more aggressive, more powerful. It was almost like a psychological transformation, and he became more sexually aroused.
He would lay listening to their heart, and he trained himself to learn when they were coming out of the drug-induced coma by their breathing, because it would start to get kind of sharp and short from the long breathing of a drug-induced. And that's when he knew it was time to kill them.
Dit is het moment om orale seks met zijn slachtoffers te hebben voor hij ze wurgt en aan stukken snijdt. Vaak bewaart hij dagenlang lichaamsdelen in zijn flat.
Sometimes he would have sex with the individual as they were unconscious, but always after they were dead as well. So it became, I think the preference was for the dead person because that way he didn't have to deal with conversation. He didn't have to deal with denials or rejections. It was strictly on his own turf at that time. He had all of his victims back at his apartment where he would be able to enjoy himself by going through the rituals that he needed to perform. Acts of sexual activity combined with destruction of the bodies.
He would come back from work and make love with the dead body. He would sleep with it. He would lie with it. He would rub it and have sex with it.
He was just very, very enamored with the concept of opening a body, seeing the internal organs spill forth, and several of the bodies he would put in his bathtub and pack with ice in midweek because he had to work the next day, so he could keep them for the weekend where he'd have more time to enjoy himself with these bodies. He said to do that he'd have to shower with cold water so he wouldn't melt the ice. It was uncomfortable, it was well worth it.
Alleen iemand die Dahmers obsessie voor dood en lijken deelt, kan misschien inzicht geven in zijn duistere fantasiewereld. Nico Klaus is beter bekend als de vampier van Parijs. Deze cannibalistische moordenaar bracht in oktober 1994 een man in koele bloeden om. Na een gevangenisstraf van slechts 7 jaar loopt hij nu weer op vrije voeten rond.
So I can really relate to somebody like him. I can understand what went through his mind and what his obsessions were. He was really concerned with the aesthetics of death, how beautiful they looked like in his eye. This is why he took photographs of his victims. He would pose them in twisted positions.
Yeah, what was the idea of the posing there?
It was just a way to exhibit control, the way I wanted them to look, and to accentuate the scene.
Keeping these photographs then was important to you as well.
I'd use them for masturbation.
Yeah, and you had a lot of them.
It continued on and grew in momentum, that the passions and the lust became stronger. His want to look for this perfect orgasm, I guess you could call it. He had to do more and more things in order to have this satisfying orgasm. It just started with having pornographic, homosexual sex, and then actually having homosexual sex with people in the baths, and then having sex and killing, and then having sex with dead people, and then having sex with the viscera, and then actually eating the people that he had sex with to get this superb orgasmic experience.
Hoe komt een mens ertoe dat hij uiteindelijk alleen nog maar mensenvlees eet? Alleen een andere kannibaal kan dat verklaren. Nico werkte als medewerker in een mortuarium in Parijs. Daar proefde hij voor het allereerst mensenvlees.
There is a state of euphoria. Right after you have done it, you really feel on a big high. And you are like on the top of a mountain.
During dismemberment, I saved heart, muscle meat from thigh, arm, bicep, liver, cut it into small pieces, washed it off, put it in these clear plastic freezer bags, and put them in my floor freezer. Just as an escalation, trying something new to satisfy. And I would cook it, and then look at the picture and masturbate afterwards.
Afterwards? Did that have any positive effect to that ritual? It satisfying?
It made it feel like they were more of a part of me.
What he did was he bought an adaptable grill to put on his gas stove. We found this, and he said he would just kind of sear it on both sides with a little oil. He did add some condiments to it, some vegetables and mushrooms and onions. And towards the end there, that was the month before we caught him, pretty much the only meat that he ate was human.
Flesh tastes like horse meat in my experience, but of course it depends on the part that you eat.
Uiteindelijk wil Jeffrey Dahmer een partner die hij volledig onder controle heeft, levend of dood.
He began fantasizing that he could make things much better for himself by creating a sex zombie. And the sex zombie he thought would stay with him, and all the time he would not have to murder anymore.
I wasn't getting the satisfaction from having to kill people. So I took it to a new level. I had a hand drill that I use for normal things like installing my farm system and everything. Drills a small bore with a skull very quickly. And with a large syringe, I filled that up with resin, injected it into it.
Filled it?
Yeah, injected it into the front lobes, hoping to produce a zombie-like state.
He was not interested in having a relationship with a willing victim. He wanted total control